listening to Wake Up Hollywood with Nikhil Korula and Eddie Pence, right here on LA Talk Radio.
Wake up, Hollywood. This is your host with the most, Nikhil Korula. We're going to jump right into this episode. We have a very talented multi-instrumentalist, singer-songwriter, Mr. Avi Castellanos, right? Did I say it right?
You got it right, yeah.
Woo! I've been kind of hit or miss for the new year on last names because I've had some crazy last names for the first couple of guests. So it's been good that I hit this one out of the park. How are you, Avi? Happy New Year, by the way.
Happy New Year. Yeah, I'm doing pretty okay. How about you?
Did you travel anywhere for the holidays or anything?
Actually, no. I just stayed in LA.
You were enjoying the good weather.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, because I'm from Maryland, and so right now it's it's snowing and it's cold as you know what. But yeah, no, it's been good. My mom actually came to visit me here in LA, and yeah, just spent some time here and just taking it easy, and yeah.
Do you usually take the time off during the holidays to write music or anything, or do you I have a rule? This is why I ask. Like during the holidays, no pressure to do any music. It's like very loose, but as soon as like about 2 weeks are over, it's like right back into it. So do you give yourself a window to either not do anything music wise, or is that your time to do some music? When do you find your window to be creative during the holidays?
I will say I've been in a pretty big writer's block, if I'm being honest, and I think that over the holidays, especially, throughout New Year's, and I kind of allow myself to really just rest. I actually did a little bit of traveling. I actually went to, right after, like, I think around like January 3rd or 4th, I went to Big Bear Lake, which is my first time, like, going to the San Bernardino Valley area, just spent some time in nature. And, I've been writing a lot, kind of just like journaling and just kind of getting some ideas out there. But I haven't really been going too hard with like creating songs from scratch and all that. But I think that a lot's been going on in my life, and I'm definitely ready to get back into it. Especially knowing that like music is just my outlet, and I know that I feel the most free when I write, and I just have fun. Also, especially writing with other people and just kind of seeing, having fun with music again. But right now I've been kind of taking it easy, especially after the holidays. It was just, it's been a hard year. It's been a long year, and I'm kind of ready to get back into it. So, yeah.
Well, it's so funny. It's like, you think that there's always like this pressure to write, which, as songwriters, we kind of always have that monkey on our back. But really, it's like, it's so important to live and find balance and like tap into nature, take time off away from music. You need just as much time away from music than being with music. And you know what's so crazy? I went to see Ray LaMontagne in concert a couple months ago. And he says when he's not on tour or not making a record, he doesn't touch a guitar. He doesn't like bring an instrument with him anywhere. He like does other things that are like nature oriented, where he's like either hiking or like building something. He does not touch a guitar until it gets to the point where it's like overwhelming for him to not touch the guitar. And I actually found it super fascinating. I was like, this is one of my favorite songwriters telling the world that he needs time away. And I'm like, that is refreshing to hear, because we kind of feel like we're on the hamster wheel sometimes. Like we have to keep writing and keep on doing things. But that's not the case. You have to find time to be creative. You have to find time to be a human. So I love that you're finding that balance. And you're in the newer stages of your career. So it's important to find that now. So don't worry about writer's block. You can have plenty of time to write about stuff. And you've been releasing a bunch of new music. Tell me what that experience has been like for you. You've released 2 or 3 songs this year, correct?
Yeah. I mean, I released what was it? I think I released about 3 songs last year, 2023, which is so weird. I still like sometimes write 2023, and I'm like, no, we're 24 now. My brain is like adjusting. But yeah, I have a few. I have a few more songs that I'm planning to release actually later this year. Just kind of getting the final touches with the mix and the master, but also thinking about just like the promotion aspect, which is something that I've been honestly kind of just scared of, just kind of thinking about how to do it right, if there is a right way to do it. And because I think for a long time for me, music has just been a way to just have a piece of myself in my songs and just kind of explain my story. I mean, and I write really just for the most part pretty intensely emotional personal songs.
Yeah,
And
good
I
though.
was, yeah, and like I really like to write also stuff that's a little more fun, or just stuff that's maybe a little more not exactly so intense and emotional. But I have some stuff that I'm working on that's very like kind of telling my story a little more, which is kind of daunting in some ways. I mean, because I want to kind of just be honest and talk about like just kind of where I've been emotionally. But yeah, but like I think that with working, I think for example, like one song that I released last year actually was a song that I co-wrote, and it was a song like it's more kind of R&B trap with a bit of like a dark cinematic kind of feel, and I like it because it was a song that I felt like it was just more fun to write, especially because I wrote it with another person and
Right.
someone who typically writes more. I don't know. I feel like when I wrote with her, it just felt fun. It just we were just thinking about like a story. It wasn't like something that we wanted to tell that was so personal to us, and that's what kind of made the process feel really fun. Whereas when I write, I feel like I have to kind of get into this deep, dark place of like pain and just like finding out who I am and depression and anxiety and all that. But so it's interesting. Like the song that I released last year were interesting because they had a big variety, and like the very last song that I released was called Chasing Heaven, and that one was a very like kind of atmospheric song that I actually have other versions of, and so it's nice to kind of have this like final version be out there. I'll release the demo versions of that song at some point, but it was yeah, just all kind of different styles, all kind of different moods, but it kind of all have this same aesthetic, I would say, of just it feeling very, I guess, ambient, psychedelic in nature, a bit of a cinematic touch, but
You
yeah.
know, what I've learned something today. Really, it's really strange sometimes to save songs. Like you don't realize like you're pushing out songs to make it on a record and put it on an EP, and every now and then, I like the last like I'd say 10 years, I've been realizing I've been saving songs and holding on to them, knowing for some reason it's not the right time to record this song, and then I meet a musical hero of mine or somebody that wants to work on music, and then I have these old school songs that are really strong that I didn't put on records that I held on to, and now I'm learning the lesson of like, oh wow, that is a really smart move to like not always throw down all these songs that you think have to be recorded. Like it's okay if something simmers. And my drummer is telling me today he'd heard some of these, and he was like, man, I haven't heard some of these. And he's like, this is awesome. I said, yeah, it's crazy. Some of these songs, they've been kind of like in my memory for 20 years, but I haven't picked up a guitar and played them in 20 years. And now we're about to record them. And you realize that it had staying power. Like when a song has staying power without even it being released, there's something there. You know what I mean? So one thing, the reason I'm telling you this is like, don't feel like you have to record all your songs all at once. You know what I mean? Because I will tell you from experience that I'm learning now. Sometimes it's cool to save a song for the right person or the right musician you want to play on it. And the musician that I recently just met is Tony Levin, who plays with Peter Gabriel and plays with King Crimson. He's like a dream bass player I've always wanted to work with. And now I'm about to send him all these songs that I'm like, this is crazy to have him play on it. But it taught me a lesson. Like it's okay to save songs. You don't have to put everything out there. Like you're just supposed to put the songs that you think are supposed to come to the surface for the time period. You know what I mean? So I'm telling you this from experience just because I feel like it taught me a little bit of a lesson, like that you don't have to release everything, and not everything has to be pushed to the front yet. Like there could be a meaning for you holding on to it, and there seems to be a meaning for me holding on to songs that has proven to be worthwhile time and time again. So yeah, I encourage you to keep writing and keep, putting music out, but don't sweat it if you only want to put one or two songs out every couple months or a year or whatever it is, because there'll be a time that people look at your timeline as an artist and they look back at all your material and they'll realize, oh man, this guy just has all these great songs and there's a story in all the songs. You know what I mean? So I think that's something that I'm learning now, 20 years in, that it's okay to kind of like hold on to songs. You don't need to push them to the front. Like there's this weird pressure with what we do where it's like, oh, you got to release stuff. You got to put stuff out. But it's like it's real easy for things to get lost in the machine of everybody putting out music. So it's like you have to put stuff out where it makes sense for you to put out, and the timing of it where it becomes urgent to put it out and not because you have to. So do you feel this new market for artists is a little maybe competitive or overwhelming pressure-wise to put stuff out? Tell me what that's like for you.
Yeah, it's definitely this pressure. I think that what kind of gets to me, I think, as being an artist, especially, because I moved to LA just a couple months ago, and, figuring out, of course, the big question, how do I balance doing what I love and making money, and especially, someone like me, like I'm, 24, right out of college, and, and figuring out kind of like also when do I feel like I feel it's right to release a song and do the promotion, and not doing it in a way that feels like it's forced. Like, oh, I have to make this TikTok. I have to make this reel. I have to do this, this performance or whatever. It's doing it because you feel like it's the right time.
Right.
And, for example, I was even thinking about releasing some stuff this month, and I thought to myself, like, just if I'm being honest, like it's been a rocky couple weeks, just some stuff going on in my personal life, and I kind of was like, you know what, like it's okay to, like you're mentioning, like wait until you feel like it's right, and it's okay to kind of go through like almost like a like a hiatus, a hibernation period, to just kind of get to know yourself, and I think sit with the song more and kind of think to myself, like not just think about a marketing gimmick or something that'll make it go popular, but how can I really tell the story of this song in a way that people can relate to it, and
you're a true artist.
Yeah.
Just by hearing you say that, you're a true artist, and that's exactly the way you should be looking at it. Like, don't put out stuff just because you feel like you have to. Put out stuff because you're excited about it, and the window for it has come where it's like, okay, this makes sense to put it out here. And whatever the obstacles you're going through, those are always going to be there. Like things just happen, but music is your lifeline to kind of get through it. But you don't have to play the game of like putting music out there. Like use music as the therapeutic tool that it is, and then also take your time to release stuff because your market will still be there. Like that's the one thing I've learned too. It's like people will find you, and even if you put out a song and nobody listens to it for a month or 2 months, eventually people do find it, and eventually the radar finds them, which is how songs are. And John Batiste said this in his Grammy speech. He said, albums and songs, they're like radars. They find you at the right time. And I find that with music, there's so much music I've never heard of that finds me at the right time. And that's all you can do is just put it out there for the world to kind of like help find it and find the world. You know what I mean? So don't feel like you have to put stuff out just to put stuff out. That's the last thing I will tell you any of us need. We don't need that. We want you to be excited about it and have the time for it. So, and I've heard some of your music. You studied at Berklee College of Music, one of the greatest music schools in the country, maybe the world. Tell me a little bit about what that experience was like and how it fostered your kind of like artistic goals or role as an artist.
Wow. So yeah, Berklee was. I still feel weird like not being there. It just feels like, especially I think just at the time of my life, like I mentioned, I'm 24, and started Berklee during the pandemic, which was definitely very interesting because, I was, there for a month and a half in Boston in the dorms. And then, we got the email saying, oh, there's this thing called coronavirus going around. And then, first they said a month, we're going to stay home. And then it was another, the rest of the semester. And then it was about a year until we, started having college in person again. And by the time it was kind of in person, I actually went to the Spain campus for study abroad.
Wow.
And that was
Every time it's the coffee. You told me this at coffee. You went to Spain. You had spent more time in Spain than you'd ever spent on campus, correct? Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I was in Spain for about like a good year, like almost a year and a half. And then I had my last 2 semesters of Berkeley in Boston. And yeah, it was a big culture shock too, especially like when I was in Spain. Like I really saw a different kind of life that they have, where of course, I mean, especially with COVID, I mean, the world has all around the world has been struggling. But Spain, I will say their culture, it's like, from what I kind of understood, was like they really work to live. They don't live to work. I think that with the U.S., with this kind of constant hustle grind mentality, which in a lot of ways, I mean, I think that it's beneficial. But I liked how even just going to school, I mean, there was like less, we had maybe the maximum we had people in class was like maybe 6, 7 people, so much time to just explore. Like, we think we had a class that was like exploring Valencia class where we got to go to different art museums and, go to different historical spots in Spain. So it kind of felt like it was more of an experience than just going to school, learning about music. It really was like, let's immerse ourselves in life. And
Right.
yeah, I mean, at some point I'll definitely visit Spain again or Europe. I felt like, it was definitely a different lifestyle there for sure. Yeah.
What was the music scene like? It must have been kind of eye-opening just to be in another world of music. It's like, first of all, the style of music's so different. The vibe of Spain is so different from the US. And that's what makes it great. Tell me what that adjustment was like for you, and tell me what that experience was for you.
Sure. I mean, I think for one, really learning about the history of flamenco was so interesting because I mean, I'm an American, but like, my daddy's from El Salvador, and so I have, some, Latin in me, and like,
Yeah.
but I never really got to know why flamenco was the way it was, and hearing the different, really understanding the mix of cultures and how that came, how flamenco came to be, with Arabic influence, with, African influence, with Jewish influence, I mean, just so much different. And, when I really, listened to, I even did a flamenco ensemble. I learned how to, I mean, I'm definitely not a flamenco singer. I mean, that kind of level of singing, it involves like, oh my God, like so much training, so much power. But I went to a few flamenco shows and I just really felt like they had just so much raw emotion, and they weren't afraid to sound, I'm trying to find the right word for it, they weren't afraid to sound ugly. So
Right.
like they were wailing in the more sadder, songs that they sang. And like, oh, I mean, a lot of it was very fun. Of course, people would be dancing all around. It wouldn't just be like a show where you're just watching people. Everyone would be just be dancing and clapping along, drinking, partying, But
That sounds awesome. That sounds
yeah,
amazing. I went
yeah,
to Spain. I never went to a flamenco party. Now I'm jealous. I never went to a flamenco party.
yeah. No, it's fun. It's
Passion.
fun.
It's passion. They have so much passion in the way they live, and it makes sense. So, like, did you draw from it? Were you like, oh, this is music. This is raw. This is what living should be like. This is what it should feel like.
Yeah, I mean, I think it inspired me in terms of approaching my music differently and allowing it to not be perfect, but also finding the balance between, of course, allowing myself to be, free flowing, and like I have times where I just freestyle my songs and I allow them to sound, maybe not coherent or not the most, just very, kind of stream of consciousness. But also I try to find a balance between also, editing a song and making sure, I correct that verse so I can make the mix a little bit better, maybe add, and I think that with flamenco, it kind of taught me that there is a training involved. It's not just like people just, can do it. I mean, obviously there is a natural talent involved, but I think I really learned about the balance aspect of it. Like, of course, finding, more or less a discipline with music and finding a way to make it a routine and getting better at it, but also really tapping into that rawness and allowing, especially as a singer, like I'm someone who is very critical of my voice a lot of the times. And so really being able to sing and not care how I sound
Right.
has been really freeing. And so hearing flamenco singers who have this very, I mean, for of course like an American, like a Western, like just that it's a different way of singing. It's just so,
That must have been
yeah.
liberating to kind of like hear somebody kind of like show you the way to kind of like not care, like to let go. And that's really when the most musical things happen, when you let go. You know what I mean? So I love that you have that experience, because flamenco to me is not just a genre of music, it's a lifestyle. It's like it is a culture. And I think you being around that kind of you were able to absorb some of that energy, and your approach now has probably changed rather than just being in music school. What made you want to go to Spain to do this?
I think I wanted to go to Spain because I've always, well, first I've always wanted to travel. Like before I went to Spain, I got to, do a little bit of traveling. I went to Italy when I was like 18 for actually a Berkeley summer camp, which was amazing. It was a jazz program. I was like, 17 or 18 or so. But I wanted to see what it was like to actually live somewhere else,
Right.
in another place. And it was almost kind of like an impulsive decision. I decided to myself, oh, Berkeley study abroad. Let's just try this out. Like I didn't really think anything of it. I didn't even, to be
Awesome.
honest, do any research about
Wow.
Spain or anything. I just thought, let's just do it. And it was just, yeah, leaving was so weird. I was like, oh, like, it almost felt like when I left, the study abroad program, I think, oh, I'm done with Berkeley, but wait, there's another year left. Oh, wow. And it was just, yeah, but it was mind blowing. Yeah.
What do you think you gained the most from going to Berkeley College of Music? It's a loaded question, I know,
Yeah, yeah.
because I think you and I have talked about this too. I'll tell you my answer after you tell me yours, because I'm curious about yours. You went to one of the top music schools. What do you think you gained most from going to that school?
Um, One thing I'll say is that I really learned, the thing I think I gained the most was knowing that you don't have to go to music school to be a musician.
It's very true.
And why I say that is because as I'm thinking about a career in music, I'm really learning, of course, you know, you learn from doing. And I'm realizing, of course, there is a foundation, like learning about theory, learning about harmony, learning about production. And, going to Berkeley, at least for me, kind of gave me that community and that structure because I felt like,
Right.
and also too, it was my first time, going to college. Obviously, I started when I was 20 years old, like a few years after high school. And I knew that I wanted to go to college. I mean, I knew that I always loved music, and I thought to myself, I don't want to just go to, you know, I knew that Berkeley was my dream school since I was really young, but and also learning too that like it's to really do this full time, it's work and it's scary. And I think through going to Berkeley, like, every semester got a little more challenging, a little, finding how to balance school and a social life and doing gigs and getting myself out there. And also, learning not to compare myself. It's a lesson that I'm still learning to this day of like realizing that we are all talented and all successful in our own right. And just because someone has a different path than someone else doesn't determine your happiness or your own internal success. Because if I'm being honest, I'm kind of in this like quarter life crisis in a way where it's like, like I mentioned, I'm figuring out how to balance, working versus pursuing my passion. And right now I've been putting more of an emphasis on just kind of, right now, if I'm being honest, I've been working at like this luxury mattress store in West Hollywood, called
Awesome.
Salsa.
That's
By the
awesome.
way, I mean, I will say, nice people and great mattresses. By the way, I'm gonna get a free mattress in a few months.
That's awesome. That's very exciting.
Yeah. But it's figuring out, yeah, because I thinking out, how do I, still like have music be in my life and figure out how to, of course, monetize it, but also still just enjoy it. And I still am working with some people. My friend actually invited me to record next week, which is really exciting. One of my songs that I've been really wanting to work on. So I'm slowly,
Awesome.
thank you, like getting that balance. So what Berkeley taught me in that regard is finding that balance, which is obviously something I think we'll never truly find. And sometimes there'll be moments where, finances take priority or some things, other things take priority, but knowing that music is always there, no matter what. But it's knowing that, like I mentioned, we're all at our own pace, as cheesy as that sounds, but it's true. It's like, if we feel like we have to be on someone else's journey, like we're not that other person, like they're on their journey and it's accepting where we're at, even if we feel like we haven't met our dream life yet. That makes sense. So yeah, but it's taught me a lot. I mean, I feel like I'm still learning what Berkeley taught me, kind of every day, honestly. Yeah.
Well, you know what's cool about what you just said? It's like when I think about music school, when I was in it, I was not happy. Like I was just like, this is like the antithesis of music. It's like it's learning all these things that I don't really care about, and then some things that I love, and I don't have enough time to spend on that because I have to do all these other things that I don't always love. But it also teaches you the discipline. But the one thing I felt like I gained the most was just the company. Like your colleagues become the most valuable thing to me, because it's like everybody has the pursuit of wanting to do music, and then you have these colleagues that they're versed in, and in the discipline that you're versed in. And when you start like kind of connecting with those people, even if they're across the country or whatever, you realize that you're bonded from this experience of going to this music school and going through the trials of all of it. And the actual curriculum doesn't matter, because I had to unlearn a lot of things that I learned at music school to be a better musician. And it's but the one thing that has been great has been the discipline, and also the colleagues, the people that I've learned to kind of like still navigate and kind of like circle back to, because that's what makes, you know, music connections so great. And you start realizing that once you meet other people from other music schools, you have that same bond, even though you didn't go to the same music school. So my drummer and I, we talk about this all the time. He went to University of North Texas, which is also a renowned music school. Don Henley went there, and all kinds of people. And, you know, we talk about the same things. Like there's a discipline, there's things that you have to learn, but there's things you have to like throw out the window when you become a professional musician. And then it's like a whole new game of like, okay, what are the things that are important? So I love that you're learning that, and you're kind of finding the balance, because that's definitely a big part of it. But let's get to one of your songs first. What do you want to play first? What do you want to play us first?
Sure. Oh gosh. I guess I'll play the newer one, Chasing Heaven. Yeah.
Okay, here's Avi Castellanos with Chasing Heaven.
Chasing heaven, chasing heaven, chasing heaven, yeah, chasing heaven. I don't know what you're looking for. 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 Chasing heaven. Tired of chasing heaven, I just wanna chase what I need. If that's reality, I guess that's how it's gonna be.
Very cool, man. I love the reverb, the harmonies. You kind of have a little flamenco style and how you're playing a little bit. Not quite, but it's got the vibe. It's got like the kind of like the sensuality in it. Tell me what the inspiration was behind the song.
Thank you. This song, what's funny, so I started the first version of the song, I think this is like maybe the third or fourth version. I kept re-editing it. I made it in 2020, right as COVID hit, and I call it kind of like my COVID song because I feel like it was a time where I definitely, since I was alone a lot of the time, and of course, being home and doing work online, like I spent also a lot of time in nature, and this song was about just kind of escaping in a way and kind of being in your own world. And it's a very like minimalistic song lyrically, so it kind of for the listener, I think anyone can take it, as they want to take it. But I think that for me, it was just more of being lost in my own world and kind of feeling like, in a way, I'm tired of doing that.
Right.
And so, when I worked on it, I was 20, I was, in Berkeley and on my own. And, I'm kind of someone who's an ambivert, like I love being around people, but I love having my time to myself to recharge. And during that time, I was definitely in a more introverted kind of place. And I don't know, it was kind of just really, I think the idea of chasing heaven was almost this thing of like, I just want to, chase this thing that's not tangible. And that can, mean a lot of things. Like for me also, I was, I have to admit, the song was inspired by a psychedelic substance, if I'm being honest. I did write the song right after that experience. And that's why it kind of has a very like trippy nature to it. But that also taught me like, it's about, not like learning from those experiences, whether it's I don't want to get all, spiritual or whatever, but just, having a spiritual experience and that really impact you, but also knowing that it's integrating it into your life and like the lessons you can learn from it. And especially the last line, like, I'm tired of chasing heaven. I just want to chase what I need. It's more of like this, I love, I think we all need escape. We all need a fantasy in a lot of ways to distract ourselves from the hardships of life, but it's also going back to reality and finding acceptance. And so yeah, like, the first version I wrote it in 2020. The second version I actually recorded it in Valencia. I actually recorded a kind of an orchestral version. I have some string players on it, and I played piano for it. That version is gonna be released at some point, maybe. I gotta talk to my friend who was producing it, but this version was kind of like almost like in my version, like in my way, like the final version, because I kind of pretty much I kind of like wanted it to just kind of get a little bit just more just to see how I can add some more layers to it, especially adding the last part with the guitar. That was kind of a last minute thing. And also added some vocal layering too, and kind of changing the melody a little bit. So I don't know, it's kind of just a song that kind of took a lot of lives, but it kind of all came from this place just lyrically in terms of introspection and kind of the balance between knowing that it's okay to escape sometimes and to get lost and to just, but also knowing that, it's about accepting reality the way it is, accepting hardship, accepting certain challenges that we have in our lives. And it's very more, it's not a very specific song. It's very ambiguous, kind of, it can apply to any situation. But for me, it was, I was thinking about, COVID, how a lot of things changed. A lot of, my plans that I had were, gone. And, being home for a while during Berkeley was, it was different. It was something I didn't really expect. And so, kind of, yeah, I think it's just about that balance. Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool because it's like you really capture that escapism in the song because of all the sounds and like sonic textures that you kind of put in. Let's talk about the production. You kind of went in this really like ethereal vibe, which I love. So what kind of started that, or what kind of like was the first ingredient to have you go down that rabbit hole?
Yeah, I think, the first thing I think definitely was reverb. I love reverb. I think that like I use reverb a lot in my songs. But at first is actually my voice. I actually was kind of just freestyling some stuff and, putting a lot of reverb on it and just kind of seeing the instrumentation kind of came later because I wanted to also I love, vocal layering and stacking, and I kind of wanted to have this, choral angelic, thing going on with my voice. And then I added the piano line. And the chords in that actually came from Alana Del Rey song, who, she's also a very ethereal ambient artist. And like I took there's one, I forgot the name of one of her songs, but I think it might have been in video games or something. But you know, where that kind of similar chord progression I kind of wanted to implement in this song. And so, not stealing, but obviously like, getting inspired.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then after that, it was just about building it. And what interesting about the song too is that it kind of feels like it's two songs in one, because the first part is this more, I would say, a little more brighter, just sonically. It feels a little. I mean, it's obviously very moody, but it's very cinematic. I use strings. Kind of have these like a lot of layers going on. Then the second part, it changes to this almost like shuffle rhythm, and it goes into a minor key. I guess it modulate. Wow, I'm forgetting my music theory terms. Modulate. That's what it's called. Modulate. So
Your
yeah,
music
modulate.
professors are like, what?
Exactly. But like, how do you know? I know 4 years spending 25.
That's all right. It's all right. It's all right. It's gonna take time for all that to make sense as it keeps going.
Exactly. Yeah. But no, but it modulates towards the end, and it goes to minor key, and that's what kind of gets this. It's like it's almost, for me, when I think about it now. I didn't think about it when I was, when I was writing it, but it almost feels like it starts in this very like ethereal, wanting to escape. Almost, I'm in a psychedelic trip almost, and then the second part of the song is almost like coming down off that trip and seeing reality again, seeing your problems the way they are, and it kind of wanted to have that be represented in the production, and in the music, going to a minor key, like I mentioned, kind of ending with just guitar and voice, going from this big lavish production to just like, kind of a more simpler stripped back thing. So yeah, I think that for me, it's like I didn't really intend for it to have that, but I'm looking back at it as like it kind of feels like it's almost it's almost like a dream and then coming out of a dream kind of thing, if that makes sense.
I love that. Well, that's the ethereal thing too. It's like I like all those reverbs and that decay. I love that when you just see sonic textures and feel it in a room. It's like I feel like those sounds represent like you're kind of leaving whatever this dimension is and going somewhere totally different. And that's what I love about music that has delays and reverbs. It kind of brings a lot of the emotion to it. So it's very cool. I really liked your approach to this. Let's play something else. What are you going to play us next?
Sure. I'll play something that's a little different. This one, I'll play Hurricane Season.
Say Hurricane Season?
Yeah.
All right. Here's Avi Castellanos with Hurricane Season.
I got an apocalyptic way of thinking. I don't know why, I just can't help myself. 'Cause the way the wind is blowing, it's like hurricane season. And I don't know why, I don't know why. Why is it always storming? Why am I always wanting? Looking for you, looking for you, looking for you. Fucking hell, I lose my temper in the rain.
season called from crashing in, searching for a reason to weather the pain that's blowing in. Hurricane season, my heart's crashing out, searching for a reason, but why can't I live in the now?
That was awesome, dude. Avi, are you there?
I'm there. Sorry. Sorry, I'm trying to get it back on. It like okay.
Oh, it's all right. No, it was cool. I like that you added the hurricane kind of weather too. That was cool. What made you add that?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't want it to be, too cheesy, just adding like, so hurricane season include, storm sounds, but I wanted this also because, I like really adding atmosphere to my, my music. And with this one, I think compared to the, Chasing Heaven, it's a lot darker. It's a lot angrier. And I kind of wanted to feel like you're just in this never-ending storm, basically. That's how I was, especially I wrote it, I think I wrote it, oh God, was it like 2 years ago? Yeah, I released it. I released it in 2022. That's 2 years ago. Okay, so sorry, time is like.
It's cool too because it's
Yeah.
you could write about so many different things about hurricane season. So tell me what made you target your narrative when you were writing.
Yeah, I think the main, I guess for me, like what came to me naturally writing about hurricane season, I think that just about what it means to just feel like you're in this filter mentally, where you just feel like everything is negative. You just feel like you're, and it's a more ambiguous kind of thing. It can apply to a lot of different areas of your life. But for me, I think that metaphor just kind of came when I was just thinking like how am I feeling? And notice it just feels like it's a constant storm. And, that's where the metaphor came about. And then I think that line, like I got an apocalyptic way of thinking, just the word apocalyptic, it feels, the end of the world, like the situation that I'm going through feels like it's just never going to end. And you just feel bitter. And I think that it was a song that I kind of allowed myself to express this feeling of just anger. And, and it's in that I don't really, it's one of the songs that, because I kind of don't really get into rock that much with my music, like real, like more like, sort of guitar. I kind of want to get into it more with some other songs, but I wanted the song to almost feel like it's on the verge of like a heavy rock song without being rock, where it has its atmosphere in it.
Yeah.
But but lyrically it was just this, like just kind of almost like picturing like, I know I'm feeling this way. I know that this is like, I knew in my mind like what I was going through at the time. It was gonna, pass on. Like a storm always ends. Like until never lasts. But it felt like it was, and that's why I think that line about hurricane, it just felt like it was just so intense. And it just kind of set the tone for the rest of the song.
It's cool. I mean, and it has like a kind of like an Americana vibe to it, but it's got like a poppy vibe to it too. It's got a rock vibe. It's got all these like different elements. It almost sounds like Southern rock sometimes too, but then it's like you veer towards more of the pop aspect. Tell me what it was like for you to mix those genres to kind of find this sound, because it is very different than the other two, and I love that it's just so eclectic,
Thank you. Yeah. Kim, for me, because I really at the time I think I was listening to getting back into like my sort of emo days. Like, I had a bit of a, phase where I was just listening to like bands, like I don't know if you know about like Bring Me the Horizon or Susan the Sirens, that kind of, I mean, and of course the song doesn't go completely in that direction. It doesn't go full on like, screamo rock, but I kind of wanted to incorporate, of course, electric guitar. And actually with the song, I love that it was a collaboration. My roommate actually at the time in Boston, he actually played guitar in it. He played the kind of the more like solo-y, like, parts that I play guitar. I'm not like, quite there. And he's into metal and like into like, death metal and all that kind of stuff. So he was really a great choice, to kind of add this like real, just kind of more skill with the guitar. And I was kind of doing just more of the comping. And then I guess with, for example, my friend who, was singing the second verse, I think her voice was just so folky in nature. And, she really added this kind of almost like, folky kind of, like, I can see like a Southern rock element to it because and her stuff is super like, I mean, we'll say actually we met online, like she actually runs a Lana Del Rey fan account, and we
Oh,
started
that's
just,
cool.
yeah, and we started, talking to each other online because she heard my music and I heard hers, and we ended up collaborating, on this one together, and it felt like it was a nice like a marriage of our voices because I know that mine is a little more on the brighter kind of pop leaning, and hers is more folky, and it just I don't know, and
Yeah, it was kind of a nice combination to hear both timbres. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, they complement each other. It was cool, very cool.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, yeah, and like just the layering too. I mean, I think the first demo of it was just guitar and my voice, and after a while, I was adding, of course, like the storm, thundery sound. And then I added her voice. I get my friend to play electric guitar in the background, and then I have a drum loop that's playing towards the end. It's kind of, but I kind of put a lot of focus on it to kind of almost make you feel like you're hearing drums, but you're not really hearing drums.
Right.
Because I was debating if I wanted this song to really have a full band feel or to kind of make it feel like you're almost there, but you're not. And I kind of liked where it's feeling like it's about to just crack open, but it didn't, sonically speaking. So, yeah.
Yeah. When you write a song, do you usually start with the music? You start with the melody? Do you start with the lyrics? Is it a combination of all, like depending on the song that you kind of write in all three different ways, or how do you write?
It depends. I mean, I feel like it usually starts with the music, or usually at least starts with like, for me, just kind of a particular just aesthetic that I want for it. For this one, I kind of, I'm a very visual thinker, so for me, I kind of knew that I wanted the song to just feel like dark, like just in my mind, it feels like a very like muted color kind of song. It almost feels like the songs in black and white kind of thing. And so I knew that I wanted, at least for the guitar, to have this kind of crunchy, gritty feel to it. And I think that the guitar kind of set the song for me. But usually when I write, yeah, it usually is based off of just a mood or a aesthetic. And I kind of feel like what instrument or what sonic effects can I add to kind of have this mental picture and bring it to life in a song, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I love that because it's like I always look for different ways to write, like sometimes it's a title, sometimes it's I just start writing lyrics, sometimes it's I'll write them like the riff or I'll hear a melody and it'll be like, gibberish, and then it becomes words, it becomes like a subject matter. So I'm always trying to uncover the different ways you can write. So it's interesting to like hear how other people write, because I think it's like interesting to just try and tackle it in as many ways as possible, because I think when you're just as open to finding whatever it is that you're finding, then you're more tapped into finding something when you write. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? Like,
oh yeah, totally.
You can uncover more ways to dig in the dirt, then you're going to find more things to, in the dirt. You know what I mean? So I kind of feel like it's a treasure hunt sometimes. And I'm always trying to perfect the ways that I can kind of create with all that. Let's play something else, though. What are you going to play us next?
Sure, yeah. I'll play you Only One. It's a song that's featuring my friend Alexandria. And this one is a little more upbeat.
Okay,
yeah,
cool. It's like an EDM tune? Is this like a club dance remix?
It's actually very hip hop, very R&B,
Okay.
very like Kalani, Bryson Tiller. Yeah, it's definitely very different. It's a lot more a lot more I don't know, just fun, I would say.
All right, here it is. Here's Only One by Avi Castellanos.
You've been stuck in your head for too long, thinking this is something else, but you don't know me too well. Spent too long thinking I'd come around. You want me for the rest of your life, but I just want you for the night, yeah. I have no space in my heart for a boy like you. Didn't think we'd take it this far. You should know the truth, yeah. I don't feel anything. I don't want no diamond ring. I just want you there when I need you. Call me up at 2 in the morning. Didn't think to ignore it. That you're the only one in my orbit. You're not the only one. Think that I'm too far off you. You assumed I'd be stuck like a tattoo, but I'm a dream that you're too scared to lose. You're not the only one.
I've been stuck in my head for too long, thinking this was something else, dragging myself through hell. I wanted more than a given. You just want someone to ease your mind for the night. It's all we are, just wasted time. Only have space in your heart for a toxic love. I can see you're lost in the dark. You better give it all up. I can give you everything, but all you want is to call me up at 2 in the morning.
Call me up at 2 in the morning. Didn't think I'll be quick to ignore it. That you're the only one in my orbit. You're not the only one. Think that I'm too far off you. You assumed I'd be stuck like a tattoo, but I'm a dream that you're too scared to lose. You're not the only one.
Not the only one. Why can't I be yours? Why can't it be? Why can't I be? Why can't I be the only one?
That was cool, man. That was really, really cool. That was like
Thank you.
dark hip hop, and
Yeah.
it was kind of like dark trancey hip hop pop, right?
Yeah, thank you. Wow,
Yeah,
thank you.
very cool. I like that it's got like that edge to it. Like, pop music has that like dark edge to it, and you kind of captured that. Tell me what the vision behind this song was.
Yeah, so this one, it was interesting because I really wanted it to feel like I wanted to have a collaboration song where it's like, especially when I wrote it with my friend Alexandria, she's really more into R&B, more into definitely like Kalani. I mean, and me too. But it was interesting because we actually wrote it in Berkeley. It was actually for a class project, and we just were like, I don't know how I think I had some kind of beat on my on Logic somewhere. Like just some kind of loop, which is the drum pad that's used for the song, and I think we just freestyled over it. And after a while, we just kept. And I wanted to feel a little more catchy. I definitely wanted this to feel like, I don't know, like my pop moment, but still feeling like me, and obviously, having her element too of her, especially she has almost like this like 90s R&B feel with her voice and with her songs. So, when we, worked on it together, it kind of was a nice marriage of us, kind of having our own, aesthetics and putting it together. And, regarding, the production, I think I wanted to still feel pretty dark and kind of cinematic, having these like a lot of like low pass sounds, having strings kind of throughout, and having also like the kind of like I think what's called like a timpani sound, like the crescendo. I mean, having this feeling like I have a lot of cinematic orchestral elements, but combining that with this like modern hip hop.
Yeah, that's what was cool. Actually, you did a lot of like synthy, kind of like modernized drum and beat sounds, but you made them sound modern and also throwback at the same time. So that's what was neat about it. The production's really cool. You definitely have like your finger on the pulse with like a production vision for every song. Do you come up with that? Do you kind of collaborate with that? Like, how does that come about?
Sure. Actually with this one, production wise, I actually had a friend from Berkeley also work on the production. Like he's the one who kind of mixed it, like really, because he's more of an engineer. And so for me, like I call myself like a songwriter producer, where it's like I produce to a point of like up to, I guess, a quality mix, I would say, or like like learning. Because I feel like for me, I'm more of, I said, like I have the vision behind it, but what he did was kind of, especially because I knew that I wanted to have this really polished, more pop sound. Like he kind of really was, good at, tweaking the EQing, the mixing, also help, with the mastering as well. So I guess having his more engineer mindset with my more just kind of like composing the song, it really blended it together. And I don't know, I liked how it just felt like a collaboration. It felt like it was a much more, I don't know, of like a weightless song to write, if that makes sense, because it was just a fun songwriting, especially about like just two sides of a toxic relationship. Like her, my friend liked to hear her voice, or her verse was more about just kind of being in a relationship just for the thrill of it and not really taking it too seriously. My part was about just like actually wanting something serious and wanting, and kind of us like almost like in two different perspectives at the same time. So it was just, I don't know, it was just fun.
You hear that it's like it's got like this kind of almost like a lover's quarrel kind of vibe. You know what I mean? Like there's a back and forth, which you kind of feel in the lyric and the melody, and you feel it in the production. You feel the tension in the production, which is really kind of cool. It's like soundscaping. It's really interesting. Where can people find you? Are you going to perform? Are you releasing new stuff? Where can people find you online?
Sure. So if you wanted to go, let's see. I would say I'm so bad with promotion, but my Instagram, I would say.
Yeah, no, Instagram is so huge. That's what I listed for your bio. I actually put your Instagram on our bio page because that seems to be the go-to now. It's not a Facebook page. It's not even a website. It's good if you have those, but it's really, most people are finding you on Instagram. Most people, that's the first thing they ask. Oh, you on Instagram? So it's like that's the go-to now. So it's crazy. Yeah, but What is your Instagram?
Oh, sure. So it's my full name, Avi Castellanos Music _. And I actually do have a new song I'm going to be releasing sometime next month. That one is going to be actually a 5-minute song. It's a pretty long one. It's a song that I've been meaning to release for a while now. It's a lot more, I would say, lyrically it's kind of a mix of a lot of the stuff I've been working on. It's cinematic, it's dark. It also has some a little bit of rock in it too. I don't know. I'm also working on an EP which will come out at some point this year. It's been a slow work in progress, because my producer who I'm working with, he's actually right now he's in Oregon, and we've just been over Zoom working on some stuff, and we worked mainly a lot of it in Berkeley in the studios, but obviously since now we both graduated, it's like, finding the time to, but it's coming along. But I will say a new song's coming out next month. Performances, I definitely want to get into performing and just figuring out the right time.
It'll come at the right time. Don't worry. It'll come at the right time. So, yeah. And you said Castellanos. That's how you say your name? So
it's funny. So basically, because in Spanish, the two L's.
Yes.
Castellanos. Yes. I say Castellanos.
Okay, so both work. Castellanos, tomato.
Exactly. No, look, I've heard people tell me, like, is it Avi Castillo? Castillo?
You'll figure
it out. Exactly.
Well, Avi, thank you so much for being a guest on Wake Up Hollywood. We're running out of time, but we're going to have you on again. So we want to know what new music you're going to play us in the next 10 months. So we'll have you back in 10 months. But for right now, check out Avi's Instagram page. Check him out for new shows and new music coming out in the next year. And on behalf of Sam, myself, and Avi, Happy New Year, everybody. Peace. Take care of each other. We'll see you guys next week. Don't.
You're listening to Wake Up Hollywood with Nikhil Korula and Eddie Pence, right here on LA Talk Radio.